during the Game Awards, there was a lot of new announcements, and one of which was Naughty Dog's new game. Now, you don't know who Naughty Dog is. They do Last of Us. They do Uncharted, the big games, the ones that do really well. Now, their new game is called Intergalactic, and needless to say, there is a lot of criticism behind it. And this video by Big Fry, who we've watched many times before on the channel, has a video on it.
Something that's against my better judgment.
Oh, okay.
All right, today I'm doing something that's against my better judgment. I want to talk about a game that I saw at the Game Awards that I, at the time, genuinely thought looked like a cool concept, and that is Intergalactic.
There's some problems with it.
IP from beloved at one point in time studio Naughty Dog. Over the last few years, Naughty Dog has, I don't want to say been in hot water. I just feel
Has Naughty Dog been in hot
like
water?
more and more people are starting to wake up to the fact that Western studios aren't really giving a lot of gamers the experiences that they've been asking for, and Naughty Dog, based on what happened with The Last of Us 2, is kind of ripe for...
See, I think The Last of Us 2 was actually like a pretty good game. I think the trouble came in with all of the remasters that they're putting out.
When it comes to this entire sub-genre culture war that, I'll be honest, for the most part, I
see where we're going
try
with
to stay
this.
out of, even though I have my own views on it. But I'm sure some of that stuff is going to leak over into this video. It's really annoying to me that I can't talk about a game concept, vibe, trailer without having to just address the huge elephant in the room, which is the fact that this game is being downvoted everywhere the trailer is uploaded,
everywhere,
including the PlayStation YouTube channel.
Ooh, look at this. That's a bad ratio.
The Naughty Dog YouTube.
That's a bad ratio.
Channel, which at this point in time has disabled comments. The IGN trailer.
That's a really bad ratio.
Everywhere this game is, it's being ratioed and downvoted to hell. And so before we go down that rabbit hole and talk about my thoughts on all of that stuff, I do want to talk about some of the stuff in this trailer that I actually did enjoy. If you guys don't know.
So I want to be clear. I think this trailer has two problems. One, female protagonist, bald, woke. You know how people go with this. That's one. Number two, this trailer was incredibly similar to a part of the Concord trailer, which was also another Sony game that flopped super hard, and we know how that went. So I don't know if he's going to mention that.
It is a new IP from Naughty Dog, which we haven't seen one in over 10 years at this point. And it's essentially a sci-fi
since Last of Us, I think,
action-adventure game. I mean, it's a PlayStation exclusive. Of course, it's a third-person action-adventure game. But the setting is that the world in 1986 discovered a faster way to get to intergalactic space travel. So it's got a lot of like retro wave, synth wave, sci-fi vibes that, in my opinion, is actually right up my alley. The setting for this game, we see the old CRT monitors, the keyboard. It kind
of gives you like the cyberpunk in the background,
old school retro tech, the stuff that
there's Kamal Nanjiani, or however you say his name, who is looks like he's a bounty. Like, this is exactly how Concord started. Like, literally the star deck of a spaceship, there's a bounty.
I would say, like, I grew up experiencing because my parents had some of this stuff at the time.
So yeah, that's another thing. I wonder if he's going to talk about this. There is like a lot of product placement in this trailer.
Obviously was born in the early 90s, so
Killer Shark was just saying that, I think.
Of this stuff, but like,
I'll try to point it out if I see more.
My house growing up, it's a very cool setting for a video game. I'm obviously a huge fan of sci-fi. Intergalactic space travel is my jam. And the premise is that you're playing a character who is apparently the pilot of a ship, a bounty hunter, who gets stranded within this planet that has basically gone dark for hundreds of years. And you have to, I guess, get your way out. I'm guessing there's going to be a mystery that you have to solve there. The premise of the game is
cool. Like, you're in outer space with
cool.
CDs.
The setting and the vibe is incredibly awesome. They said that they're inspired by
Sony.
Akira, Cowboy,
Sony, like, right?
Bebop, and old animes.
Adidas.
And I think it's hitting a vibe that I resonate with greatly. Now let's get to the bad part. The internet is roasting this game for, I would say, two reasons. One of them I think is completely ridiculous, and the other one I actually think, even though I may not agree with the entire sentiment, there is some merit when you look at the data and the facts of how games in the
See, this
West
is where it gets
are selling.
interesting.
When we get into the murkiness, let's stop beating around the bush.
Like when it gets into the gameplay here, this doesn't look like a Naughty Dog game. Like this doesn't look like this isn't Guns. This isn't Last of Us. This looks like Dark Souls combat.
First thing, which I think is completely fucking ridiculous, is the amount of people that are pissed off at the game for having ads. It's basically a huge billboard for ads. We saw the Porsche logo.
Yeah.
We saw the Adidas logo.
I just pointed that out.
And if you guys can believe this, people are complaining that there's a Sony logo.
That's dumb.
In a PlayStation exclusive. For me personally, coming from like a shooter FPS background, I do find it ironic. Now, I'm guessing these are obviously two different camps, but like I have a bunch of people in my comment section all the time when a new Call of Duty comes out or when a game comes out that doesn't actually use things like the real gun names or the real gear names.
Yeah, this is a really good point. This is a really good point. Like when people don't use the real gun names or the real names of things from the real world in game because they didn't copyright them or use them or whatever, people get mad at that. And now that they're using real things from the real world to kind of make it more down to earth, which is kind of a funny thing to say for a space game, but to make it more down to earth, people are complaining about that.
Call them out. It's just like, why are we calling this a XM whatever when it's really just an M4A1? Why aren't we using the real names? But then when we look over here, it's like people are pissed off when they are using real life references. When, you know, it comes back to the old days of playing Grand Theft Auto when you can clearly see that this vehicle is a Lamborghini, but it's called an Infernus. Some people like it, some people hate it. I think if Grand Theft Auto ever got to a point where they were using real brand names of vehicles, I think that's pretty cool too. A lot of people were turned off that the trailer showed a lot of these product placements in it. It felt a little tacky to them. I guess for me personally, I don't really give a shit. I actually think it's cool that
like I think it can go over the top. Like if you go back and watch Friends, like the TV show Friends, and try to look at it like from like the product placement standpoint, there is product placement in that show left, right, and center. And if you actually pay attention to it, it kind of brings you out of it. So I think they can go too far, but like, do you think they were really played by Porsche?
You know, future intergalactic
to
travel,
have that on the,
we would have a Porsche spaceship. We would have these brand, it kind of just lends credibility to the world.
That's kind of what I was thinking
maybe
too.
For some people that it kind of hits a little close to home, feels a little bit too on the nose. It maybe feels a little bit shoehorned into the trailer. It's something that didn't bother me at all. I actually kind of thought it was cool for like a fleeting moment. And then it's like, okay, there's way more things to think about. The other thing that people are incredibly upset about is the main character's design. Now, dude, I've seen
this is gonna happen no matter
some
what.
of the most like horrific, horrible shit said about the main character design. Bald-headed, butch, lesbian, fucking.
Oh, he repeated it all.
Whatever you want to call it, dude. It has been a trip over the last 24 hours. Dude, when I was watching the trailer, as somebody who's like in game development, I was watching the facial animations, the actual like mocap of the character, the amount of detail in the character itself. I was actually kind of stunned at how good it looked. I wasn't even really focusing on the fact that,
well, I don't know why that matters when you don't know the story whatsoever.
Masculine. She's definitely got a bald head. I didn't even think about why they wanted to make the character look the way that they did. I was just focused on the tech that they were using to make it happen. Naughty Dog, in terms of like visual fidelity, is some of the best in the industry. Before we get into this, I want to run this scene back with the character. I believe her name is Jordan. She's grabbing her coat and she's putting it on, and you can see, like, I was paying attention to the way that the camera moves over here so that they can swap the model in the off screen to the character that's already wearing the jacket. Just stuff like that. When you're in development and you're looking at how all of these other studios are pulling off these immaculate things from a tech perspective, that was the shit I was looking at first. But I wasn't really thinking about the actual character design itself while I was watching the trailer for the first time. You know, maybe I should have. I don't know. But I've been watching the conversation happen over the last few days, and this is one thing that does concern me about the inevitable release date for Intergalactic. Because for me, I like a lot of things that I saw in the trailer.
It's going to be 2026 at least, right? For this.
But I do feel like we are in a moment in time when it comes to not only gaming, but media in general, that there is a huge pushback against any sort of what people call woke propaganda, agenda pushing, checkbox checking, inclusion for the sake of checking a box to have inclusion propaganda that the Western studios keep pushing. We've seen the controversy with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We saw the controversy with Concord, a $400 million crash and burn.
And like, honestly, Sony's got to be scared about this game. Like, this is going to be a $400 million game. If this crashes and burns,
Star Wars Outlaws, we're seeing the controversy with games like Fable. Hell, even at the Game Awards with The Witcher 4, we're seeing people push back against that as well. And
the Witcher 4 one is dumb because that's already a part of the story.
It is becoming increasingly obvious to me that it is almost impossible to talk about the AAA space without divulging into the negative cesspool that is the culture war. And like I said, I've tried to stay out of it for as long as I possibly can. And even now, I don't know if I share the same opinions about how the character is designed. What I don't want to see is a character that is designed in a way to push the propaganda forward. And what I mean by that is when I saw the dialogue written for Dragon Age Veilguard, when it was so like hit hammer overhead.
I don't want a game to preach to me. I don't care which type of character you are, which way you swing. If you have a good story and you're not trying to preach to me, I don't care. It's the same kind of like when the people I surround myself with, whether I have a straight friend, a gay friend, whatever it may be, I don't want you to push your ideals on me. I don't want you to preach to me as to what I should believe in or not believe in. Even like when it comes to politics, like I don't come on here and sit on stream and be like, you need to support this politician because I believe that what they are saying is correct. I can be like, oh yeah, this is who I support, or this is what I support, or this is what I believe in, or this is who I am as a person. But the second it changes to like push an ideal or push any sort of beliefs or thoughts onto you, it's just stupid. Who cares? Like, I'm here to entertain you, and a game is here to entertain you. I'm not watching or playing a video game to engage in politics.
Trans this, non-binary that, pronouns this, pronouns that. When the devs feel like it's a necessity to like force it down our
yes, it doesn't matter, sir. This is a Wendy's.
In-game dialogue and making it a huge focal point of the character. I think that's where people have a huge problem with what is currently going on at these studios in the West. And I have to say, even if it's not a huge problem to me, I didn't buy Dragon Age Veilguard. I didn't buy Concord. I'm not divulging and putting my money where these things are that I'm just kind of looking over the fence like, this looks like a fucking time bomb waiting to go off. I'm gonna just stay clear of that.
Like, you got to think though, like this game's not coming out anytime soon.
Intergalactic is a game that actually has my interest.
It has my interest.
I feel is about to be one of the biggest martyrs when it comes to this culture war, overwhelming negativity.
This game isn't coming out in 2025.
Online. And I gotta say, like,
neither is The Witcher.
As much as you can try to ignore it, you can't ignore the numbers. Concord was a $400 million fail, and everybody was yelling from the rooftops that they just didn't like the character designs. Ugly fucking characters don't sell well to gamers, and
which is actually wild to see how well Marvel Rivals is doing now.
Where, like,
but it's based off of an existing IP, so it's different.
You might think, oh, just go jerk off, watch porn. Why does it matter? It clearly matters. And I'm coming to the realization that, like, I can disagree with, like, the super angry, like, I don't even want to say incel. I don't even want to insult it. I don't know what it is. I can disagree with that sentiment, but you can't ignore the impact that they're having when it comes to game sales in the West.
So here's the thing that no one wants to say, and I will say it. Most people who play video games are male. And when you play a game, specifically an RPG, you probably want a character who represents you, right? Now, it becomes a little bit different when you have a game like The Last of Us or Uncharted that isn't directly an RPG. It's kind of a game that is telling you a story. And generally, people are going to gravitate towards stories that they can relate to. Now, if all of a sudden the story that's being shown to you is about a gay female, as a straight white man, what do I have to relate to that? It has to be a damn good story with a damn well good written character that has a bunch of like, not even beliefs, but a bunch of ideals that I can support, whether that be family, whether that be like a cool backstory, something like that. It doesn't mean I can't relate to that story. It just means it's a lot more difficult to do. And yeah, like, keep beliefs out of it. Like the whole pronouns thing, there's no reason to change that or anything like this. Like, keep all of that out of this. You tell a good story, you write a good character. It doesn't matter who they are or what the background is. The game's going to be good.
Dragon Age Veilguard, as much as these game journalists wanted to tell you that it sold so well and fuck the chuds and fuck the incels, it didn't do as well as they're trying to tell you it did. When you look at other games that sold around the same time and the player numbers were 10xing what Dragon Age was pulling in for their max player numbers, like Farming Simulator sold an abundant more copies. Concord, $400 million thrown down the drain. And if that number isn't accurate, regardless, a studio got fucking laid off and fired for the blunder that they made. But if you haven't noticed the shift happening, where gamers can sniff out the wokeness from the moment you put your first trailer out, all the way up to the game's release, they follow it. They look for clues to see if this is what these developers are trying to push. And then ultimately, in most cases, it's actually kind of turning out to be true. It turns out that when there's smoke, there might be a little bit of fire. And I'm nervous because it's something that I don't want to take part in. I'm not this vocal, like, she's ugly, I want her to have big tits and blonde hair. I just stay the fuck away from it. But this is a game and a concept and a world that I'm actually really, really interested in. And I agree with this. If I jump in and have to be beaten over the head about pronouns and social cues, especially if the world is set in the 80s and is trying to be as accurate with the product placement, the Porsche, the Nike, the Adidas, whatever. If they're trying to be accurate, this culture war shit shouldn't be reflected in the story that they're trying to tell if it's set in the 80s. I don't ever recall anybody complaining when I was growing up about Mulan, the Disney animated show, having the big girl boss moment, right? I don't remember anyone ever complaining about Ripley and Alien. They were cool, fantastically written characters that didn't have to shoehorn in identity politics and whatever else. They were just well-designed, well-written characters. And if Intergalactic can keep on that same trend, I'm going to be super happy playing that game. But like I said, in following
make it a good game with a good story. Like, I think for a Naughty Dog game, the good story is incredibly important.
Culture war from the shadows.
That's the important part.
And watching what people have been pointing out, looking at clues. Oh, look at this trailer.
Like, that is why Uncharted, and that is why specifically The Last of Us have been critically acclaimed games, is because the backstory on their characters is really good. Look at how they're
designing this character, and then when the game's
even if you may not agree with it.
Yeah, the writing is shit. These characters are kind of trash. And I can definitely see that there's more on the table for these developers than delivering a good, solid experience. They want to shoehorn in all of this other shit. But here's the thing, because I see a bald woman on screen as the main character, I'm also not ready to jump off a cliff yelling woke on the way down.
You know nothing about the game yet.
Intergalactic doesn't go that way, because if it does, I think the pendulum has swung back in the other direction so hard that gamers aren't going to take it. They're going to yell from the rooftops. They're going to buy the game, review bomb it, and then refund it. And the game is going to be fucked from the jump. And it's just something I don't want to see. So I'm hoping that Naughty Dog, if
this is the interesting part to me, this like kind of gameplay part
they want to go,
this does not look like Naughty Dog to me.
And
like,
that's
what's
not
with the robots?
Some sort of threat. That's like more of like a genuine question of like, do we want to do this again? We like, can't we just make good video games that tell great stories again? Does that fucking exist anymore? Does everything have to be wrapped up
Indiana
in culture
Jones is
war
there.
bullshit? But here's the thing: I also can recognize that it's not just a Naughty Dog issue. It's a world issue. I don't like when politics come to games.
This is exactly what I was just saying. I don't want politics in anything. I don't want it in my live streams. I don't want it in my TV. I don't want it in my movies. I don't want it in video games.
Already just like at the throat of the... I can't imagine the fucking DMs that these devs have already gotten. And it's just a fucking shame that as somebody who likes to just talk about video games, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's a scam, whether it's a terrible asset flip or whatever the case.
Dude, when season 1 of Black Ops 6 came out and Savati Dumas was the main character and she had like the short colored hair, people were freaking out, calling Call of Duty woke. That's part of her character. Being the master of disguise is part of her character. Like, watch the campaign. She has 6 different outfits. She talks about being with Pascal. I don't think they ever stated whether that was a male or female, but their fiance or whoever it was, like, she has a whole backstory, which is actually honestly a pretty good backstory. And she's the master of disguise as a part of her assassinhood. Like, and people were like, now, if we get another season and it's like the same sort of thing and it's like this over and over again, I get where the complaints would come. But it's one season with one character that is already developed in this way of master of disguise, and people were mad about it. I feel
like the hardest thing nowadays is to look at a video game coming out from a studio in the West and be excited for it, because there is always some fuck shit, whether it's microtransactions, whether it's the woke fucking culture war bullshit that's going on, or whatever. It's sad that I grew up in a time where none of this shit mattered. I always reference Mulan because it is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time.
It's not my favorite Disney movie.
The animated movie, not the bullshit live action one. But if that movie, the animated one, came out today, it would be panned across the internet.
He is right.
As woke, girl boss propaganda bullshit. When back then, it was just a cool movie that had some cool characters that kicked ass. And I wish we could go back. I really do.
That's the internet.
I want to say that I'm optimistic for Intergalactic. But truthfully, I'm just kind of sitting here on the sidelines.
I don't know whether I'm excited for Intergalactic or not, but what I do know is I like Naughty Dog. And I trust Naughty Dog. They write good stories and they write good games. And I feel like if anyone can do this type of story, they can. So I'm not excited for Intergalactic. I'm excited for Naughty Dog's game, is the way that I'm looking at it.
Hoping it pans out, but fully expecting the worst. And when I say the worst, I'm not just talking about Naughty Dog. I'm talking about what is about to be the discussion around this game online. And even if the gameplay is good, I feel, oh God, I am
the discussion around it, like, I don't care. I just won't read it.
Even though I'm a huge fan of the setting,
and if it sucks,
the world
it sucks.
that it's seemingly trying to put together, the concept seems cool, but holy fuck. Let me know what you guys think down below. I normally try to steer clear of conversations like this because I find that it can divulge and get ridiculous really, really quickly, especially in the comment section. I never want to jump into the fucking fire.
Another thing that I will say is I think after Starfield and I think after like the recent games, these like outer space games, people get less and less excited for because there's been so few of them that have actually been good. So let's take the political agenda out of this. This game has a very similar starting out cutscene to Concord. People did not like Concord. Okay, they're going to relate it to that. Name what's like anyone in chat. What is the last space game that we had that was legitimately good? The only one that comes to my head, like Starfield wasn't it. People didn't like that, and they're going to compare it to this, even though it's a completely different type of game. The last like really good one would be like Mass Effect. Like, not even like Andromeda, like the other ones. Starfield is just boring. Like, I can't think, like, Alien Isolation, like, there's definitely some, but like, I don't know.
Can't talk about it without addressing the elephant in the room.
That might be part of it too.
I gotta give my thoughts on that while also just trying to focus on the product itself. Can we do that? If the game is good, can we just say that it's good? If you know, fuck me. I fucking hate it here. My name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video and subscribe for more commentaries on upcoming releases, mainly in the FPS genre, but sometimes we dabble around stuff that I actually find enjoyable. This is one of those things where I'm not quite sure how I feel. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one. So I saw the trailer.
So yeah, someone said No Man's Sky. That game sucked at launch. So it's good apparently now, but I haven't played it then. But like I said, my take on that is I like Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog makes good games. I don't know what this story is. I don't know really what this game's about, and I'm not going to know until we get more trailers or anything like that. I'm guessing the game doesn't come out probably until 2026. So am I excited for it? Yeah, because it's a Naughty Dog game. I don't really care what the characters are. I think they'll do it justice because Naughty Dog does good story. And maybe I'll be wrong. And if I'm wrong, oh well.